Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world.
Hey guys, what's going on? So a lot of you are probably already aware that I'm doing a collaboration video with Just a Robot on his channel, where we will be covering the controversial topic of Madara vs. Aizen. If you weren't aware, I definitely suggest you go and check that out. And while you're at it, check out the rest of Just a Robot's channel as well. He has hundreds of hours of binge-worthy content, and he was also kind enough to give me a shout-out on his channel. So please go send him some love. And to those who just came from Just a Robot's video and are watching me for the first time on my channel, this video is made specifically to help welcome you. Anyway, now that introductions are out of the way, we are ready to take a dive into the most respected and legendary shinobi in all of Naruto, Madara Uchiha. There are many things to say about Madara Uchiha, most of which has already been said, but this video in particular will be analyzing even the most minute detail of Madara's capabilities. To be clear on what this video will go over, we will be taking a look at all of Madara's physical power, speed, and durability. Then I will proceed to cover his massive array of non-physical abilities or hacks such as Genjutsu. I will also be including multiple forms of Madara, specifically Warring States Madara prior to his unlocking of the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, aka EMS Madara, the one who fought Hashirama at the Valley of the End, Rinnegan Madara during the War Arc, and the video will end on Ten-Tailed Sage's Six Pads Madara, the strongest variation. There are some other forms of Madara that I won't be mentioning, as there simply isn't enough noteworthy information for me to cover, such as Blind Madara. To clarify, I will be only using evidence for my claims from the manga, as it is the original source material, and even though there is some funny scaling in the games where Madara can apparently reverse time, the canonicity of the games are questionable at best, so I usually stay away from them. I still will be using the databook, however, because it directly references the manga and was released alongside it as secondary source material. Alright, now that that is cleared up, we will begin with Warring States Madara. The Madara that will be scaled in this section is anything prior to his unlocking of the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, as that was around the time of the Leaf Village's creation and the end of the Warring States period. There's not much to say about this Madara, as he only appears over a short span of a few chapters in the original manga, but I came to the conclusion that it would be worth bringing up this variation of Madara, as it would make this video essay a bit more cohesive because of the massive time gap, and also because though there is a shortage of information to discuss, there is still enough to briefly talk about. The Warring States period takes place before the foundation of the Five Great Villages, when many shinobi clans were all at war with each other. Most prolific were the Uchiha and Senju, who were regarded as the strongest of all the other clans, and their leaders were specifically selected as the strongest amongst them. Madara was born during this period, and the era would last until he became a young adult. A war-torn land doused in the blood of fallen clan members, an era that was so ruthless and unrelenting that the average life expectancy of a person was below 30, and even that was degrading due to the amount of filicide. Madara was a child born into conflict, and it is because of this that he developed his awesome skill and monstrous power that we see later in the series. There are multiple chapters detailing the reason the Uchiha and Senju were at war with each other, but in short, it was virtually a Hatfields-McCoy scenario where a blood feud had broken out between the rival clans, and as more and more of the family members died, the more their leaders sought revenge. This is important because it displays the kind of environment Madara grew up in. To begin, we will start with Warring State Madara's strength and attack potency. Even early in Madara's life as a child, he was apparently able to kill fully adult Senju warriors. This is not only a testament to his physical capability, but also to his skill. Madara himself was stated to have been born with the greatest and strongest chakra the clan had ever seen. This supports the idea that even at an extremely young age, he still represented a threat to many of the Senju. During his teen or adult years, Madara and Hashirama became the leaders of their families and establishing themselves as the strongest in their respective clans. Madara and his younger brother Azuna participated in perpetual battles with Hashirama and Tobirama, suggesting they were relatives in combat. Madara's combat speed even as a child was extremely proficient, as both Hashirama and Madara were able to intercept their father's attacks with rocks, even whilst being a significant distance away. Madara is also comparable or above Azuna in speed, who constantly fought against Tobirama, a man who was considered to be the fastest shinobi of his time. Madara also is consistently able to react and combat Hashirama. As for durability, Madara must be able to at least withstand a comparable amount of damage of his own attacks, or his body would break apart from the strain and automatic counterforce whenever he exerts himself. Finally, Madara possessed the Sharingan and all of the abilities that come with it. In short, the Sharingan grants precognition similar to that of Spidey senses, as it allows the user to predict the attacks of their opponents. Madara also presumably has access to base Sharingan Genjutsu at this time, as that is the staple of the Uchiha clan, as well as Fire Release. Madara towards the later part of the Warring States period is also shown to have mastered the Mangekyo Sharingan, which actually comes with a few significant abilities, the first of which being the Susanoo. The Susanoo is a suit of armor that significantly increases Madara's durability and battle power. But more importantly, it is stated in the third databook that in order to even use the Susanoo in the first place, you are required to meet two prerequisites, the first of which is Amaterasu, the second being Tsukiyomi. Both of these jutsus represent concepts necessary to the development of the Susanoo, Amaterasu being the material world and Tsukiyomi being the nightmare realm, both of which the user of a Susanoo is required to have mastery over. So what this means is that Madara is capable of using jutsus like Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu even in the early stages of his lifespan. This is by far the most impressive and controversial statement for this Madara, but I will be detailing this more later in the video. There's some other minor things as well, such as Madara's proficiency with ninja weapons and kinjutsu, and he also has access to his Bancho fan, which is capable of converting ninja into wind release to reflect attacking jutsu away or back at his opponents. I should also mention that Madara's MS comes with a major flaw, which is blindness. Madara is only able to use his Mangekyo ability so much before he will eventually turn blind, but this will be circumvented in a later form. That's about all we have to go on though for this variant, so now I will be going on to the next major and most familiar stage in Madara's life, the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and the Foundation of the Leaf. As you saw in the first section and what you will continue to see for the rest of the video, I will be following a strict formula, first discussing strength, then durability, followed by speed, and then ending with his hacks or any other notable abilities. Anyway, shortly after the death of Izuna, Madara achieved what is known as the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, otherwise known as the EMS. The EMS is unlocked through the surgical replacement of one's own Sharingan for another Sharingan user of close relation. Madara took the eyes of his brother, which allowed his EMS to develop. The EMS grants a plethora of abilities, whilst also amping the user's physical statistics. EMS Madara's power, when first exposed, was possibly one of the most impressive displays in the entirety of Naruto, as he was single-handedly wiping out an entire division of the Shinobi Alliance through the means of his taijutsu and ninjutsu. He uses Great Fire Annihilation Jutsu, which was capable of stalemating legions of Shinobi water-style users, combined water attack despite having a typing disadvantage. Shortly after devastating the 4th Division, Madara was confronted by the 5 Kage, which resulted in the grandest battle yet. During this battle, he was able to withstand direct attacks from the Raikage, who is capable of tearing through the physical body of the Eight Tails. This is impressive because the Eight Tails' physical body is so durable that it took direct strikes from both his own Biju bombs and the Ten Tails laser. Prior to Madara's encounter with the 5 Kage, he showed Kabuto that he was simply in a different realm to the Shinobi Alliance. Madara used what is called Tengai Shinsei, otherwise known as Shattered Heaven. They were the massive meteors that he called down from seemingly nowhere to destroy the 4th Division. These meteors were so powerful that they generated forces over 724 trillion tons of TNT, which is the equivalent to annihilating an entire country. This is supported by the fact that the shockwaves of the impact were felt from literal countries away and caused earthquakes in neighboring lands. Even this is not EMS Madara's most impressive feat of power, however. During Madara's confrontation with Hashirama at the Valley of the End, Madara possessed the Nine-Tailed Fox and fired a Biju Bomb, but the Biju Bomb was caught by Hashirama's Wood Golem, which he would then redirect and slam into Madara's Susanoo, which resulted in a massive explosion that obliterated the surrounding terrain. However, Madara's Susanoo was not only able to withstand this blast, but it also appeared to have taken no exterior damage from it whatsoever. This is majorly impressive because the Ninetales is a being demonstrated capable of beating other Biju who can level entire continents, and even this is a severe low end of the Ninetales' capability. In the 3rd and 4th databook, there are statements suggesting that the Ninetales has attack potency on a planetary scale. The 3rd databook states that Kurama could turn the world to ash, and the 4th databook states that the Ninetales wields earth-shattering destructive power. There are some people who believe the 3rd databook statement is only displaying that the Ninetales can destroy the world's crust, but I believe this to not only be a bad but also unsupported interpretation, as the definition of world is the Earth together with all of its countries, peoples, and natural features. And all of its natural features would entail all parts of the Earth, like its mantle and core. I also believe the interpretation I'm using is a fair middle ground, as it is also commonplace for the word world to be used in context to the universe and other celestial bodies. This statement uses the term Shinra Bansho, which refers to all of creation, but can also be translated as world. So using the word world in context of planet is pretty fair in my eyes, and is supported by the 4th databook statement where it outright says Earth rather than world. This is the end of the AP section, so now we will go ahead and transition into speed. EMS Madara has numerous speed feats that place him in the highest echelon of scaling in the entire verse. There's actually a staggering amount of impressive speed scaling that is applicable to Madara, but if we went over all of them, this video would take 3 days to watch, so to cut it short, I'll only be talking about his more impressive speed scaling. To scale Madara's speed, we must first talk about the 4th Raikage. 4th Raikage is stated in the 4th databook to be capable of performing his lariat attack at the speed of light. Now, there's a common mistranslation that I've seen multiple people use where it states that the Raikage was traveling at almost the speed of light, but this is not correct as the kanji directly translates to speed like light or speed as light, which means that the Raikage is not traveling at almost the speed of light, but rather at traveling similar speeds to light. Now, whether similar refers to the Raikage speed being above or below, we don't really know, so I think the safest assumption is to take the middle ground and assume the Raikage is traveling at the base speed of light. This is actually downplay because we know that the Raikage can perform the lariat in base, which suggests that when he activates his lightning cloak, we could be dealing with a Raikage who is significantly faster than light. Madara himself is easily able to combat and react to the Raikage during the war arc, so this would at least give him faster than light reaction and combat speed, but this is by far nowhere near his best showing, as this is still a severely downplayed Raikage. It is stated in the 4th databook that the Raikage boasts speed on par with Minato Namazaki, or the Yellow Flash. Minato performed a feat that has been calculated at around 25 times faster than light. Even this level of speed does not enter the upper echelon of Madara's scaling, as he was also capable of slapping away Nine-Tails Chakra Mode Naruto, a character who is shown to be around 73 times faster than the Raikage, which if we assume that the Raikage is only moving at the speed of light, which is massive downplay, this would mean Madara would have speed scaling that is around 73 times faster than light. The only problem people generally draw with this calc is that the Raikage's distance moved after Naruto dodged his attack is not clear, but if we compare the scene of Casey and Naruto dodging the Raikage and the scene of Minato dodging the Raikage, we can clearly see this section in the Minato feat, where the Raikage barely moved in comparison to Minato. And seeing as the Casey and Naruto scene is meant to narratively replicate the Minato feat, as displayed by the numerous statements of Naruto being compared to Minato specifically in speed, I think it is a fair assumption to say the distance the Raikage moved is minimal in both scenes. I would also like to point out that simply dismissing a calc because it has assumptions would dismiss all calculations entirely, as they all have assumptions present within them. The goal of a calculation is to minimize assumptions, and when the assumptions are needed to be made, to use rational and justifiable assumptions, such as the one mentioned above. Finally, we have reached the end of the speed scaling for EMS Madara, and this will basically be the best speed scaling we have for the rest of the video, as there's no way to quantify future variations and amps that Madara will gain, such as his Rinnegan and his Sage 6 Pads powers. Just know that those variants are significantly faster, just to an unknown degree. To finish EMS off, we will discuss all of his abilities and hacks. Madara's glaring flaw with his Mangekyo Sharingan, as I mentioned earlier, was the blindness that comes with using its abilities. But luckily, the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan circumvents this issue, as the user will no longer go blind while utilizing MS abilities, which basically means Madara can spam the out of them as much as his chakra capacity can withstand. Madara also showed use of the Yasaka Madatama beads, which are described in the databook as being Itachi's strongest ranged jutsu, and is the same jutsu Itachi used in conjunction with Casey and Naruto in version 1B's Biju bombs to blow up Nagato's Chibaku Tensei. They are also stated in the same databook page to be able to attack from thousands of miles away, which should give Madara a massive range in comparison to his previous forms. Madara also has access to Izanagi, which he would use to prevent his own death after the Hashirama fight. In brief, to describe Izanagi, it is virtually the ability to change a person's fate prior to an event. It is also likely that Madara is aware of Izanami as well, seeing as Madara learned Izanagi from the Uchiha Stone Tablet, so Izanami should be similarly present. But we never actually see Madara use it in the series, so it is uncertain whether or not he can actually perform the ability. As mentioned earlier in the video, Madara has access to the Susanoo, which means he would be able to use both the Tsukiyomi and Amaterasu. We never get to see Madara use Amaterasu, but we do actually see Madara use Tsukiyomi. He doesn't outright directly say he is using it, but he directly casts the jutsu on Obito, and specifically describes it as the jutsu that he would use to create the ideal world and cast it upon everyone, which is in reference to the Infinite Tsukiyomi. Not to mention, the Infinite Tsukiyomi is literally just the normal Tsukiyomi reflected on the moon. So I don't think it's outlandish to say that Madara would have access to the normal Tsukuyomi anyway. Madara's genjutsu is by far one of the most potent in the entire verse, as Madara is described in the 3rd databook as being the only Uchiha who is capable of controlling the Nine Tails. This would even include the likes of Itachi and Shisui, both of which have genjutsu that are described as being the most powerful within the verse, that being Tsukuyomi and Kodo Matsukami. Itachi possesses the Tsukuyomi, which literally projects infinite-sized realities within people's minds, and Shisui possesses the Kodo Matsukami, which Itachi describes as the ultimate genjutsu. Kabuto says that there is only one genjutsu powerful enough to break the Edo Tensei, that being Kodo Matsukami. So even these genjutsus are apparently not strong enough to control the Nine Tails, as stated in the 3rd databook, which makes Madara's genjutsu more impressive than both of theirs. Some people may not think this Madara is capable of producing a genjutsu of this magnitude, but many people fail to realize this is the same guy who is going to use the infinite Tsukuyomi, which quite literally projects entire universal spaces into the minds of all of its victims, tricking them into believe that the dream cast upon them is their reality, which is the most impressive display of genjutsu in the entire series. There's a very impressive feat in the Akatsuki Hida novel where Itachi is able to successfully cast Tsukuyomi on a swarm of bees. It is unknown how many bees are there, but there's likely hundreds of them. Taking into account that even a single Tsukuyomi dream is infinite in span, that would mean that Itachi is casting likely hundreds of infinite spaces into the minds of these bees, which would make his genjutsu multiversal in effect. This is one of the most impressive feats of genjutsu in the entire verse, only outclassed by the infinite Tsukuyomi that Madara casts later in the series. The only reason that one is more impressive is because Tsukuyomi was casted on billions of people, and even some other living creatures such as cats and dogs. Most people, when they think of Madara, don't think about his genjutsu, but it is definitely one of his most viable weapons in combat. Moving on, Madara is also capable of absorbing chakra, and he does this in his fight with Hashirama during the War Arc, where he absorbed all of Hashirama's chakra in a few seconds, which would make Madara's chakra absorption the best in all of the Naruto series, even including the likes of Nagato and Kasame. Kasame, although able to absorb massive portions of Beast chakra, wasn't able to capture it all in one swing. Madara, on the other hand, was able to drain Hashirama, who has more chakra than perfect Jinchuriki cloaked Naruto, who has the most chakra of any of the other Biju and Jinchuriki. This same Naruto has possibly the most impressive chakra display in the series, as shown in the War Arc, where he not only filled the entire Shinobi Alliance's chakra, which is at bare minimum 70,000 shinobi, but he also amped them to an extent greater than their own capabilities. This Naruto has less chakra than Hashirama. Madara drained Hashirama within a single panel. Absolutely maddening, I know, but it happened. By far, Madara's most physically imposing ability is his perfect Susanoo, which is virtually just a hyper-cracked-up normal Susanoo, which was already devastating to begin with, as shown when he was literally tossing the Kage around like a pinball machine. Madara should have maintained all of his previous abilities from the Warring States period, as well, as there's nothing suggesting he lost them, and this could apply to future variants as well. So from here, just remember to stack all of the previous abilities and scaling from each of Madara's forms. Anyway, that's it for EMS Madara, so next we will uncover Rinnegan Madara. So Rinnegan Madara's attack potency should logically be largely greater than his EMS state, as the Rinnegan is implied and basically stated to give the user a power amp. There are multiple statements to suggest that the Sharingan itself amps strength, and the Rinnegan is simply an upgrade to the Sharingan, so it likely functions similarly, but there is an even more obvious statement given to us by Obito that the Rinnegan overwhelmed him with power. So this would mean that Madara's previous strength should be amped to an even greater degree, although the extent of this amp is basically unknown, but it must be pretty serious if Obito is barely able to wield it. It should also be noted that Madara was the original owner of the Rinnegan that nearly overwhelmed Obito, so the strength he should gain from it should be superlative to the power that Obito achieved. Durability should be about the same as before, if not a bit better, because of all the reasoning used at the beginning of the video surrounding counterforce, so we can just quickly dismiss that. Now, we will try and go over hacks as quickly as possible, since there are quite a few of them to cover in this section, and this video is already edging a length greater than my Akatsuki ranking video, which you guys should go check out as well by clicking the link in the description. I will note that there are multiple forms of the Rinnegan Madara, so I'll be placing them into a composite form, and including the likes of Blind Madara, Hashirama Cells Madara, all into one. Starting off simple, as mentioned, Rinnegan Madara achieved Hashirama Cells during the War Arc, which grants him wood release such as Wood Clones and the Wood Dragon that can suppress Tailed Beast, and Yin Yang release due to the combination of blood between the Uchiha and Senju. This factor also actually improved his use of the Izanagi, as stated by Obito, that in order to properly utilize Izanagi, you would require both the clan's bloods, which Madara at this point in time achieved. Madara also obviously has access to the abilities of the Rinnegan, which I will now briefly cover. The abilities of the Rinnegan are separated by 7 pads. The human path has soul and mind manipulation, as the user is able to rip people's souls from their body, but also obtain information from their thoughts. The Naraka path would allow Madara to summon the King of Hell, which can devour its victims' souls. The animal path enables summoning abilities, such as the Giant Chameleon, which can turn invisible, and the Replicating Dog thing. The Ashura path has the ability to regenerate weapons and armor, in which it can augment its own bodies with. The Preta path is one of the most useful Rinnegan abilities, as it is able to absorb the chakra from opponents' ninjutsu, and in the hands of Madara it was shown capable of absorbing particle style. The Deva path enables gravity manipulation in the form of Almighty Push, Universal Pull, and Chibaku Tensei. Chibaku Tensei also has a sealing aspect of it, which can even imprison Biju. The last path is the Outer Path, which enables the Rinne Rebirth Jutsu, a resurrection technique that transcends the concepts of life and death. It is the same technique in which Nagato utilized to revive all the lost lives during his raid on the Leaf Village. Madara also gained access to the Geto statue and can summon it at will. It also comes with its own abilities, such as the Soul Dragon, which can rip the soul out of Madara's enemies instantly from range. The final and major ability of Rinnegan Madara is his Limbo clones, which are clones that are physically equal to Madara in every way, but are invisible and intangible to most ninja, as they don't actually exist in the same reality that they are attacking from. It is described in the databook that they attack from an adjacent world, which means they are attacking from a separate plane of existence or dimension. These clones are extremely deadly, as they virtually are undetectable even to most sensory ninja, due to their existence not being present in the same plane. Although this Madara is shown to be capable of using one clone in the manga, it is possible that he can use more clones like he does in his Ten Tails form, but it's not certain, so we'll be safe and leave it here. Anyway, that'll do it for Rinnegan Madara, and next we will finally be entering the last section of the video, Ten Tails Sage of Six Paths Madara, or what I'll be referring to him as, Six Paths Madara, by far has the most impressive attack potency feat. Shortly after Madara casts the Infinite Tsukiyomi, he calls upon the Shinju tree and spreads it over an absolutely massive chunk of the earth in an extraordinarily short amount of time. The amount of energy required to perform this feat at the speed that Madara did would give you a low-end result of 9.5 times the destructive force necessary to bust the earth, a mid-end result of 37.5 times the destructive force required to obliterate the Earth, and a high-end result of 939 times the destructive force required to obliterate the Earth. The reason there are different results is because there are certain assumptions that are made within the calc surrounding how fast Madara performed this feat, so each result simply depends upon how fast Madara spread the roots of the tree across the planet. This would mean Madara has now moved into the higher tier of large planetary. Whether or not this feat scales to Madara's durability is questionable, but he did utilize his own chakra to do it, so it is possible that it does scale to his durability, but we don't know for sure. Madara's speed, as mentioned in the EMS section, has no quantifiable difference, but we do know that Madara gained massive physical amps that should drastically increase his speed, just to an unknown degree. As for Madara's abilities, he is shown to use 4 Limbo clones in battle against Naruto and Sasuke, which is quite an improvement from his prior Shonin, as he only displayed the capability to use 1. Madara in this state also has the capability to fly, and is able to wield a jutsu called Light Fang, which is literally a beam of light, and it's possible that he can use this jutsu in an earlier form, but he never does so we'll just leave it here to be safe. Madara also obviously has Sage Mode granted from his Ten Tails Sage of Six Paths chakra, which means he's a sensory ninja, and is probably capable of absorbing natural energy. There tends to be a side effect with most other types of Sage energy, where if an opponent takes in too much natural energy, they get transmuted into an animal such as a toad or a snake. There's no confirmed side effect for Sage of Six Paths Sage Mode, but I would like to think that since most people literally die from trying to wield Nine Tails chakra or the Sage of Six Paths weapons, that there would probably be some kind of side effect caused by coming into contact with Sage of Six Paths chakra. As mentioned earlier, Madara also obtained the Rinne Sharingan, which allows him to reflect the Tsukiyomi on the moon, which casts the Infinite Tsukiyomi. Madara also obtained the Kamui, which for those that are familiar with the series is notorious for being one of the most powerful ninjutsu in the entire verse. The Kamui allows the user to teleport themselves, objects, or other people into an alternate dimension, which is useful for multiple reasons, such as turning themselves intangible, battlefield removal, and or sniping off the heads of people he doesn't like. Madara in this form is also capable of ridiculous regeneration, as he managed to rejuvenate over 1/3 of his body being destroyed after a massive attack from 8th Gate Guy, and can even survive getting severed in half as Sasuke successfully achieved against him. By far, Sage of Six Paths Madara's deadliest ability is his truth-seeking orbs, which virtually function as a form of existence erasure. For those that don't know what existence erasure is, It is defined as the simple power to remove something from existence, leaving nothing behind, a level of destruction beyond incineration, vaporization, and atomization. Rather than just reducing something to its constituent parts, this ability leaves absolutely nothing behind. Powerful enough uses of this can even erase the mind and soul, if not more fundamental aspects of one's existence, such as concepts. The truth-seeking orbs were the only ninjutsu capable of stopping the Edo Tensei's regeneration. The reason the Edo Tensei are able to regenerate like they do is because the Edo Tensei bodies are not normal atomical bodies, but rather vessels that a soul is attached to. Basically, unless the soul of the Edo Tensei vessel is affected, the vessels will regenerate. If you notice, when Minato's arms were torn off by Ten Tails Obito's truth-seeking orbs, they did not regenerate. Even later, when we see Minato in a spirit form, his arms are still not present, which suggests that his arms got erased. In the fourth databook, there is a description of Kaguya's eternal truth-seeking orb where it states that it reduces entire time-spaces to nothing, which would include even the most minute constituent parts of its existence, which is again, existence erasure. Madara himself is even able to interact with these truth-seeking orbs, which would actually give him resistance to this level of erasure as well. There's some more abilities that Sage Six-Paths Madara has as well, such as his yin-yang tendrils, which he can send out to entangle and attack people, and probably some other abilities, but I didn't really feel like they were important enough to list. Anyway, that's basically it. There are probably a few things I forgot, but I think I covered everything major. If I did forget something big though, make sure to leave an angry comment down below so I know which people I should find and erase next. Big thanks to my research dudes listed on screen. They helped me not only with the script, but also helped research and read a lot of the manga and data books, and this video probably would not have been possible without them. I also want to give a special thank you to Just a Robot for shouting out my channel and giving me a spotlight on my platform. Also, go check out my friend Webcam Parrot channel. He makes similar content to me, on the comic book aspect of things, so go give him some love. For all the new folks that are watching my channel for the first time, and all my old viewers, I hope you all enjoyed the content, because it required a sacrifice of my time, money, and 3 goats, and look forward to future content similar to this. I'm planning on making quite a few videos in the future. The next one will be focusing on a less mainstream character than Madara, but nonetheless a favorite of mine, Kakuzu. Naruto, although a major aspect of my channel, is not the only content I plan on doing, as I have some other content planned, specifically One Punch Man and Avatar right now, and some other things I'm interested in. I also am involved in a lot of debate communities, so you will see me post some debate videos on occasion, so check those out if you're interested in that. I will also be making a collaboration video with another friend of mine, Surfbone, on his channel. So if my channel and Just a Robot channel is not enough me for you, go ahead and stay tuned for that video as well. If you guys would like to interact with me in my community, I have a Twitter and a Discord server that I will link in the description. Feel free to come and join in on the conversations. I frequent in them quite often. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. Peace!